Hi, welcome to a video of CS106A Assignment 4, Hangman, Milestone 2, Part 1. And basically I'm adding this little clip at the very beginning to show you that I'll be writing all the methods all the way up to build body because this video actually went longer than I thought it would. So I'll be cutting that Part 1 video short, and then there'll be a Part 2 that shows you how I constructed the body of the Hangman. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please enjoy. Hello, welcome to another video of CS106A, Assignment 4, Milestone 2. This is the graphical portion of Hangman, and I will be doing all the methods in this one video, so it'll be a little longer than normal. And let me take you through this. Let Kai be the one to show you how this whole thing gets put together. And of course I'm doing it in my way. There's many different ways, but at least you'll be able to understand how I put this together. Again, I'm happy with how there are views for this, and people are happy of how I explain my solutions. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for the comments. And so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is show you the flowchart. So what we have here is Hangman Canvas, and that's the class. And what we're going to do in this graphical class is to work on the reset, which is one where we take all the objects out and then build the scaffold. Here is where we display our label, the text of the word with the hyphens, so the guessed word with the hyphens. Note incorrect guesses would be to display our incorrect guesses plus build the body of the man. And these are two of my own methods, one where we build the scaffold and another one where we build the body of the man. And that's it. So let's get started. So what we're going to do is create this split screen right here. So to do that, we got to initialize it. So here we create the instance of the class Hangman Canvas, and basically you can't put it in the run method because that runs the program. What we really need to do is put it in something called the initiate, because we're going to initialize things. There are things that we want to turn on before you can run the program. So that's what initiate does, initializes it. So we're going to do canvas, new, Hangman Canvas. Okay, and then we're going to add it to our container. And there you go. That's how you set that up. So just 4 lines of code. That's pretty easy. Okay, next we need to work on our stubs. So personally, with this many variables, I like to look at it from the top. Okay, and then here, the one thing you need to worry about is that, well, let me show you. When you run the program, it doesn't take into account resizing, meaning that if you resize the image while you're running the program, the locations of where all these images go will be off because the resize is different. So usually you run into that situation if you're using the method like get height, get width. Okay, unless you fix the problem with the resizing, which you wouldn't know how to do until you actually get to name surfer. And even name surfer, they don't really explain to you how to do it. That would be a problem. So to fix that problem, we're going to go ahead and set our dimensions physically. And to do that, we're going to create 2 variables. Private static final int our width, which will set it as 400, and private static final int height, which will set it as 500. Okay, so that no matter how much we resize the box, the width and the height's already set for our image. Okay, and another trick is when we start putting the image onto the canvas, it would be nice to develop something called an anchor. An anchor is your reference point where you start from building the image. I talked about anchors before. Personally, anchors are usually in the middle, but because of how elementary this image is. I'm going to build my anchor from here. Technically I can have 3 anchors, one here, and one here, but because it's so simple, I'm just going to do it from this reference point and build my whole entire canvas. So, what do I need to do in my reset? Well, remove everything. So remove all. Is the first thing you gotta do. Secondly, we need to build our scaffold. Okay, which will lead us to building our method. Okay. Okay, so again, we need to create our anchor. I use numbers like, or variable names like private double start x and private double start y. Sometimes I use anchor as the word, but start is also something that works too. And for that, because we want this to be the anchor, we'll go width divided by 2 minus the beam length, because this is the length of the beam. So width divided by 2 minus the length of the beam. Okay. And for our y, height divided by 2 plus half the scaffold. So height divided by 2 plus half of the scaffold. Okay. So now we can use that anchor point to write our G lines. So here we go G line dot scaffold, because that's what we're building first. New G line, our starting point. So that's going to be our starting point. Remember, G lines uses 2 points. So this is our first point, start x, start y. Now we need our second point, which will be up here. That would be our start x, because the x direction did not change, but our y did. So minus our scaffold height. And remember, it's minus because this top left corner is the origin. Okay. What did I do here? Start x. Oh, okay. Forgot the rest of the code. There we go. Okay, so now that we have the scaffold, we have to always test it. Don't do everything until you know that everything looks good. So take a look. It doesn't show up. Can you tell me why? Because Kai forgot to call it in the Hangman program. So let's go ahead and call it. And what do we call that? We call that the reset, right? So canvas.reset. And don't forget, we have to add it as well. There's no point in doing that if we don't even add that line. Everything looks good. Okay, let's run this guy. There it is. Now it's a little further to the left than I hoped it to be, but looking at it now, it's totally fine. You can move it over. I'm not really that big on cosmetic stuff like that. The purpose is to have the scaffold built and it's visible, so I'm happy with where it is. You can change it, but I'm not. Now, we need the beam. So G line, beam, new G line. We'll start off with the endpoint. So that's going to be our starting X, and then our starting Y, because that's the endpoint at here at the top. And what we're going to do now is shift the X over by the length of the beam. So we're going to do start X plus the beam length. And then we're going to go ahead and put our Y value, which again is a straight line, so does not change. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and add the beam. It doesn't really matter which order and how you construct the scaffold beam, as long as you just make sure you add them, that'll be fine. Last part, what is it, the rope? Yeah, the rope. So we stick the rope in, new G line. Again, at the end position of the beam will be our start position. So, in position of the beam. Do you see why we created that variable start x, start y? These would have been way longer if we hadn't done that. But anyways, start x, start y. We need our y. that would be our end value of our y here, and then we need our new value of x. So x doesn't move, but y does. So we're going to say plus. We're going to take this value here and add the value of rope. I'm running out of space here, so let's go ahead and hit enter plus, and this is still one line of code, so you're not going to have to worry about that. Rope length, and there you go. That's the construction for the rope. So add rope, and now we have our scaffold. Funny how we're building a very, well, I'm not going to say, but anyways. Okay, and there it is. Perfect. You can see how I'm already like resizing it. So again, if you're running into that trouble using the get height, get width, that's because every time you resize it, the width and height changes, and I don't want to deal with that. So that's that. Okay, so reset's done. BuildScaffold's done. Now let's go to displayWord. Okay, so for displayWord, we need to create a label that updates itself. If it's updating, that means that there has to be a copy of it that exists during the program, which means what we need is a variable of it called in the canvas. So private glabel text display label. And the trick to being able to update that, I'll show you how to do it, but make sure you initialize that as null. So it's an empty object, empty label. I'll show you how to use that. And here, what we're going to do is construct it. So our text display label is equal to new glabel. We need our string, so that's the word, and we need our positioning. So now the first one's going to be start x, because I'm not going to shift it over. I'm just going to go directly down by, let's say 100. So start y plus 100. Okay, and of course you need to add that. Now the one thing you also need to do when you're working with labels is make sure you have the right font. So we're going to go to text display label, set our font, and fonts are always in double quotation marks. And then we're going to put, I'm going to go with times. You could do whatever. I'm going with times. Set it to size 40, make it somewhat big, and there you have it. And this will display our word. Now again, if you don't want to mess with overlapping labels, which will happen if you don't do this, but when you call it, it's going to overlap the old label with the new label. Make sure you clean up the old labels. So we're going to hit if the text display label is not equal to null, so maybe meaning that there's something there. Okay, we want to remove it, and we want to call that before we actually create our label, because we want to delete the pre-existing label first before we create a new one. See? As long as it's not null. So what does it mean? If it's null, it's not going to have to worry about this. Cool trick, right? Okay, so Hangman canvas. We need to start off with hyphens, so let's go to here. It doesn't really matter where I put it. I guess I'll just put it here. And then display our word, which is our guess hidden word. So it's going to show up as hyphens. And we need to update it with our guesses. So let's go to our guesses, word update. So whenever that guess is correct, it's going to do a word update. So canvas dot display, and technically I could have also stick it in. Technically I can also stick it in our word update method, but I'm going to do it here, but not back here though, because it's not going to have a new updated word. I will do it right after we call this method, this loop. So after the loop is done, I guess hidden word has been updated, so I can just display that in there. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so 8 guesses. Alright, there's our hyphens, that's nice. I, D, O, okay, I think I know what this is. Yes. Boom, yay. So everything looks good. That is our display word. Okay, so now we go on to our last method. This is noteIncorrectGuess. Okay, so if we're creating a list of our incorrect guesses, that means that we need to have a memory of it. So let's create it. So private string of our incorrect guesses. Incorrect guess. Let's initialize it with nothing in it. Okay. And because it's still a label, we need to create an empty label of it too. So incorrect label. Looks like increasing, but it's incorrect. Just don't want to type that whole thing out. Alright, so let's go ahead and make it. So you already know what this guy does. So we're just going to copy and paste it, save some time. Incorrect label. So if the text is already there, it would delete it and replace it. And then now we need to construct our labels. So incorrect label is equal to new glabel, and that would be our string, which is incorrect guess, because that's what we want to display in our position. So start x will be the same, but start y will be a little different, because here it's down by 100, and if it's already down by 100 plus 40, we want it to be below that. So let's add another 10, so 150. Okay. And we need to set our font size. So incorrect label dot set font. Our font, we keep it as Times Roman, but this time our size will be 25. Sure. I don't know if that's going to look right, but we can see, right? And then let's add it. Okay, there we go. I don't think I'm missing anything else. Everything looks good, except for this part, right? I am. Our updated incorrect guesses. Need to fill it, right? So we'll do incorrect guess plus equals to those incorrect guesses, which is the letters, or which are the letters. But now everything looks good. So let's go back. Let's call it our Hangman program. Best place to do it would be in our checked letter method, where it says there are no that guesses. So here we'll go ahead and hit canvas dot note incorrect guesses. Guess would be our guess, like that. Something's wrong. Oh, that's string. We need a character. So easy way to fix that. Guess dot character at. Okay, because the guess is one length. And so we just do character at 0. That should fix it. Okay, okay. This looks good. So we run the program now, and to see how everything looks good. Okay, so we say O, good, U, okay, not bad. Could be a little higher, but I think it's fine. T, S, Z, oh good, R, on, boom. Well, we already know what it looks like when it's correct, so that's purposely good. So we are supposed to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Ys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So everything looks good. So going back to the Hangman canvas, now that we got the labels to work and got the scaffold to work, the only thing we gotta do now is get the body to work. And the easiest way to get the body to work is we gotta go ahead and place those, right? So we need to have like a counter or an index. Let's create that at the top. So private int, let's call it the guess counter. I'm not worried about it being the same name as the other one because it's private. And if it's private, it stays in this class. 0. Okay. So, if it is incorrect, then we'll add the letter. Let's also increase the number. So, guess counter plus plus. And then I want to build the body. Okay. So that's the next thing. We are going to build a method, public void build body.